Hello and welcome to today's Wholehearted Living podcast episode with your host Debs Thorpe. And today we're going to dive into what happens when healing isn't what you expected it to be. So let's do this. So as human beings, we tend to think in a very linear way. And by that, I mean, we will often have this vision of like walking a path, ahead of us. And that when we begin any kind of journey in our life, whether it be a healing one or learning or transformational or whatever that might be, that our mind likes to think of that in a linear way. If we do this and we tick this box and then we learn that and then we do that, we're going to get there. Because we have quite a strong logical part of our brain that likes to think in that way. It keeps it ordered. It's easy to understand. It allows it to feel like it's in control, that life is predictable. So if we think about how our brain and our body processes change, that it always wants to guide us to what's familiar, because what's familiar is more predictable and safe. So the logical part of the brain is always going to be trying to create that, almost to give the illusion that it's in control and this is how it's going to happen. So it makes change and it makes moving forward in that journey easier, because like this logical part feels like it's very, very in control. However, very little in life works like that. I'm sure you have had this experience on many, many occasions in life where it hasn't gone to plan and it hasn't worked in that way. Now, what is a really key skill as human beings is, I remember reading this quote, and I can't remember who it was from now, of, survival isn't about being the strongest or the fittest, it's about who can be the most adaptable. And, we see this in animals, right? At the moment, they are having to go through their own huge adaptation because the climate is changing so drastically. So it's now not going to become about, survival of the fittest or the strongest. Of course, survival is going to become about who and what can adapt now. And the same is true for human beings. So when we think about life not being that linear, like logical thing that our brain wants to think that's how it's going to work out, it then comes down to how well can we adapt to the little diversions or the obstacles that we're going to meet on the path. And so that's what I want to introduce you to through this episode, and a few different concepts that have helped me through my own journey of 20 years of delivering therapy, as well as the different things that have helped clients along the way. So healing, particularly when we think about whether that's our own growth journey or whether it's healing some trauma or releasing things that are no longer serving us, like healing is not a linear process. We can't, I can't give you a list of, well, this is what we're going to do, and if you work through it in this order and tick this box, then you're going to get here. Now, I know that your logical brain wants that. It's what a lot of marketing is based on at the moment. And, I remember having a big battle when I first entered the online coaching space versus, for the years and years before that, I was delivering in-person therapy. Suddenly in the online world, I was coming up against like so many tactics that I couldn't compute and I didn't understand. And, at the same time, you've got the people going, well, this is just how it's done and this is what you need to do. And one of them was, well, you need to guarantee an outcome. Like, you are the expert. You need to give a money back guarantee for somebody. And I was like, that's absolutely impossible in this line of work, because I don't know where that journey is going to go for somebody. I know within myself, and this is an absolute knowing deep in my core, I can hold the space and create the conditions and give people the tools and the techniques, the intuitive wisdom, the space, the connection, all of that will enable them to access whatever it is they need within themselves to heal or to grow or to go into the next level of expansion or whatever it is that they want. Okay, I know deep within my soul that's who I am. I can do that. I cannot sit here now and tell you where that's going to go, because for as much as there are trends within people, and like a couple of episodes ago I introduced you to the concept of archetypes, and there's different things that we use in order to try and understand and almost group together certain traits and parts of the psyche. We're all still so unique and so individual that, I've witnessed this so many times, which is why I really disagreed with this sales coach at the time, is because very often what somebody is coming with, what they are presenting with as the issue, is not the actual issue. So, and it might take a few sessions, building up relationship and trust and safety and all of these things for that underlying issue to even surface. So I'm not prepared to carve out this linear tick in the box exercise. As long as you do this, this is what's going to happen, when we're so much more than that as human beings. We're so much more complex. And this is my nature as a human being, as a therapist. I know it's not everyone's, but where there is something deeper, and where that is the thing that needs to alchemize, be shifted, healed, transformed, because that will be the thing that I almost think it's like the linchpin. Once that changes, everything else changes. I'm not going to ignore it. I'm not going to not go there with it. Okay, so, what starts off as something that might appear quite surface, that we go, okay, that's this, we'll, get that done and dusted. It might not be that. Okay, and I always want to hold the space in such a way that if there is anything else that needs to surface or come out during that time, it absolutely can. I'm all about all parts of ourselves being okay. And I've worked in this field for so long now, there is nothing that anyone is ever going to say to me that is so deeply shocking that I would reject them or walk out or anything like that. I'm in the fire with that person, and I will not be moved. So that's what I mean about this healing journey. And I say this because I think there's not many people saying this in this space because it's not the done thing at the moment. You know, people want quick results, they want the easy route, they want guarantees, they want the quick fixes. And we are not that as human beings. They might work for some people in some contexts, but for the bulk of us, we're far more complex. And, but, you know, that's what I want to really reaffirm to you in this episode is it's totally okay if healing isn't what you expect it to be, because you have been fed the illusion that it is some kind of linear process that you can work your way through, and it's not that. There's definitely layers to it. And, you know, also, let's be real about this. It's going to be an endless, journey. We're always growing. We're always evolving. There's no, end point that we get to that we're like, oh, okay, I've sorted all my stuff out now. Let's go and live happily ever after. That's not life. We're always going to come up against different things in different ways. We'll end up revisiting things that we thought we'd already healed, but we're doing it in a different way. You know, so I often think of this just becoming a process that we integrate into our lives whilst also living it. Now, there are some things that will need some intensive healing or some intensive work around, you know, a particular issue that surfaces or a trauma or something that really does require some deep work. Okay. My approach with healing and with any kind of therapeutic work is that you go in and you do that work and you do what needs to be done to release and heal and integrate, and then you go and live your life. I'm not one for people being a lifetime in therapy. You know, we're here to live. Integrate. If something comes up in your life and you think, okay, that needs addressing, or I would really like to change that, or I want to heal that, go do the work, integrate it, go and live your life. Okay, and live your life with the awareness. I've given you loads and loads of tools and techniques already throughout this podcast that will enable you to go through life being aware and being able to live this wholehearted life. And then if something comes up in a different way, seek any help that you need to do it. Okay, so what I just wanted to put this out into the online space, that it's okay if the healing journey isn't what you expected it to be. And more often than not, maybe because of the way that I work, or this just is the experience of being human, the very thing that you think is the bit that needs fixing, or and I say that a bit tongue-in-cheek because you never need fixing. You're not broken, you're not damaged. Can we just put that out into the universe? However you are in this exact moment, is you are whole, you are lovable, you are all of these things. Okay, so there is nothing in you that needs fixing or needs sorting. But if you have come, or you've had the experience of seeking any kind of healing or therapeutic work from that basis, and it hasn't gone the way that you thought, there's so many different reasons as to why that might be. As with the last episode, when I talked through, when life goes to shit, what do you do? Take the lessons and engage with the different parts of yourself. And, I really truly believe that we all have the innate capacity to access whatever healing we need within ourselves at any moment. Okay, it doesn't have to be something that comes from outside of us. And, you know, some of the greatest like therapists or any kind of therapeutic professionals that I've ever worked with, they have all come from the basis of you are your own authority. You have everything you need within you. I will just help you to unlock that. So, you know, this is a cyclical process, if you like, for anyone who has come across the grief process, where they do it like a curve. It's called the loss curve, and it documents the different emotions and different stages of grief. It's presented in a line like a graph, with the caveat of you can swing back, circle around, go through all of these different emotions and different states multiple times a day. And I often think that's what it's like when it's healing. You know, when you're going through a process or you're looking at transforming a part of you or healing some trauma, it's not a linear process, and that's okay. There'll be times when you feel like you've made 10 steps forward or released something, and then something else bubbles up. And my invitation to you is that if you are going through that journey right now, that you hold all of you in love. And I'll do a separate episode on what it is to really connect with that frequency of love, because that's the thing that's going to help you through the healing, is being able to be held in love. And so this is what I mean about choosing who you work with, like, carefully, because that for me is not the most important thing, but it's such a key part of holding space for someone else, is holding it with unwavering love and compassion, because it's one of the things that we can struggle to really stay connected to when we're healing and feeling very broken and all of these things. We need to be held in the vision and the knowledge and the energy that even though we might feel really broken, we're still very, very whole in that moment. So the healing process, or certainly walking this life, is very much like the layers of the onion. Okay, we peel away a layer and a fresh one's, revealed, and, we kind of go on with our life, and then we might come up against something else where then another layer gets peeled away, and that's kind of the process. And the more that we can integrate the okayness of peeling away the layers, the easier it is to navigate life. There isn't this magical place where everything is all perfect and we're never going to encounter any challenges ever again. We get better at being able to navigate those challenges and those times. We get to know what it's like to shed another layer, where we can go, oh, okay, here we go. Oh, yep, I know this. Yep. Oh, I thought I'd already looked at this, but oh, I see now I'm looking at this from a slightly different way, and there's another layer that's going to get peeled away, and, okay, it's maybe not particularly comfortable, but I know what's happening, so I can go with it. Okay, it becomes more like that. So hopefully this has been valuable for you today in terms of what the reality of the healing journey is like. And it's totally okay if you don't feel like you fit into the box of what seems to be the dominant kind of marketing, kind of sales thing that is existing in the online space at the moment of, do this, tick this box, go through this program, and this is going to be the result. It's far more than that. And I think for anyone who wants to go on that deeper journey, they know that actually there is an element of to truly tap into who you are and your authenticity. There is going to be an element of unknown in that journey, and that's exciting and scary all at the same time. And so being guided through that by somebody who really gets that and knows that and can hold the discomfort of the unknown and not waver in that, that's really, really important. So do let me know what your experience of your healing journey has been and where you feel like you are on that at the moment. And I look forward to speaking with you again very soon. Bye for now.